In the 1970s, the Vanderbilt family held a reunion. At one point, the wealthiest family in America. At that reunion, not a single person in the room was a millionaire. 3 generations. Gone. The Rockefellers, who started with less, are still intact 7 generations later. The difference was never the money. Let's get into it. Level 1. The aesthetic. The first level of old money costs almost nothing and is currently being sold to millions of people on TikTok for free. The hashtag has over 700 million views. The navy blazer, the cashmere knit, the loafers that look better worn in than new, the watch that's either vintage or simply old enough that nobody can date it quickly, the muted palette, the absence of logos, the impression that nothing you are wearing was chosen to impress anyone, least of all the person you're talking to. Old money doesn't have that anxiety. Not because its members are more virtuous, because they have never once had to prove the wealth is real. It has simply always been there, the way the furniture has always been there, and nobody performs for furniture. Level 2. The education. At Level 2, the investment starts before the child is old enough to have an opinion about it. The boarding school. The right university. Not for the degree is incidental, but for the network that forms in the corridors and dining halls and common rooms over 4 years of adolescence spent with the children of people who matter. The relationships built at 16 and 17 between future politicians and future CEOs and future inheritors of serious family offices are the relationships that will be called upon, quietly, for the next 50 years. The insight is simple and uncomfortable. The most valuable thing an elite education delivers has never been on the curriculum. It is the unstated assumption, shared by everyone in the room, that the people in this room are the people whose phone calls get answered first. That assumption, installed at 16, shapes every professional interaction for the rest of a life in ways that are completely invisible to anyone who didn't share the room. Level 3. The network. At Level 3, the network stops being a byproduct of education and becomes a structure in itself. The private club, the board seat, the invitation to serve on a foundation alongside the people whose names are on hospital wings and university buildings and museum galleries. These are not social arrangements. They are the infrastructure through which old money moves decisions, capital, and access in ways that never appear in a press release. Old money doesn't network the way new money networks. Old money maintains the rooms where decisions happen and occasionally allows new money to visit. Level 4. The structure. Here is where the story of the Vanderbilts and the Rockefellers stops being history and starts being architecture. By one widely cited estimate, 70% of families lose their wealth in the second generation. 90% lose it by the third. The Vanderbilts lost it in 3. The Rockefellers kept it for 7 and counting. The difference was not intelligence. The difference was structure. John D. Rockefeller did not simply leave his children money. He built a system around the money. Family trusts that could not be easily dissolved. A family office to manage the assets professionally across generations. A culture, deliberately instilled, that described each member of the family not as an heir, but as a steward. Someone whose responsibility was to hand the fortune on in better shape than they found it. The money belonged to the family name, not to the individual who happened to be holding it at any given moment. Everything so far has been about building something. An aesthetic, an education, a network, a structure. All of it is, in some sense, still new, still being constructed, still being proven. The next 3 levels are where the construction stops and something different begins. At Level 5, old money stops being a financial category and starts being a cultural one. By Level 7, it stops being either. What it becomes at the top is, in a very specific sense, the most interesting inversion in this entire video. Level 5. The name. At level 5, the money has been in the family long enough that the family name has become a separate asset, worth more in many contexts than the fortune itself. The Rothschild family started with a man named Mayer Amschel in a banking house in Frankfurt in the late 18th century. He sent his 5 sons to 5 European cities: London, Paris, Vienna, Naples, Frankfurt, with instructions to build and to stay connected. 250 years later, the name is still on the door of one of the world's leading financial advisory firms. The money, through wars and revolutions and the complete reshaping of the global financial system, was never the most durable asset. The name was. Level 6. The disappearance. At level 6, something strange and deliberate happens. The family stops being visible. Not because they are hiding, because they no longer need to be seen. New money needs visibility. It needs the profile, the press, the public persona, because visibility is how it builds the reputation that allows it to operate. Old money at this level has been operating for long enough that the reputation is already in place, and visibility now costs more than it gains. Every profile is an invitation. Every published net worth estimate is a negotiation. Every public appearance is a surface that can be misread. The family at level 6 has decided, often several generations ago, that the optimal strategy is to be known to the people who matter and invisible to everyone else. Level 7. The inversion. And here is the thing this entire video has been building toward. At the very top of the old money hierarchy, the money has been present for so long, managed so carefully, structured so completely, and kept so far from any individual's name or identity that the people who are inside it have developed a relationship with wealth that is the precise opposite of the one that created it. The person at level 7 does not think about money. Not in the way that people who are working toward wealth think about it, not even in the way that recently wealthy people think about it. The money is simply a condition of existence, like the weather or like gravity. It has always been there. It will continue to be there. Here is the detail that never makes the documentary. The Vanderbilts could see the money disappearing. The spending was visible. The lawsuits, the divorces, the mansions being sold. They saw it happening and did not stop it, because they had never built anything that required them to. Most people who make serious money make it once. The question that separates them, decades later, is not how much they made. It is what they built around it before they needed it. Here is what these 7 levels actually map. Not wealth, not even class. They map time. At level 1, you have discovered that a certain kind of money has a certain look, and you can reproduce it without the money. By level 7, the family has been inside it long enough that the money has been replaced by something more durable. A name, a network, an identity that would persist even if the fortune were depleted overnight. Because the fortune was never really the thing. The money was never the inheritance. The system was. I break down how these things actually work, not how the brochure describes them. See you in the next one.